Welcome to the Groseal Township Community Recreation Commission meeting, January 26, 2012. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everybody. Approval of tonight's agenda, any additions, deletions? I have an addition underneath the chairperson's report. I would like to add a special announcement. With that one addition, I need a motion to approve, please.
Approve.
Ethel?
Second.
Bill? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of the minutes from December 15th, 2011. There's an extra copy on each end over here, one over here. But you guys should have got it via email. Are there any additions, deletions, any other changes? Otherwise, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Bill, second. Ethel? That's some fast people down there. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Public comment, 3-minute limit on non-agenda items. Anyone in the audience would like to make a public comment? Please state your name and address. Yep.
Hi, my name's Julie Cordes, and I'm here representing the shelter. This is Chucky. I just want to mention that we have our bottle drive going through the end of February, and you can bring your pop bottles with returns, the Michigan returns to the shelter and put them in the dog kennel area. And also dog park members, we're taking applications for the dog park this year. It's $10 for island residents and $20 for off-island residents.
Can you give us the times for the bottle drive again? When's it end, Robert?
It ends February 28th.
February 28th.
Yep.
All right, help out the animal shelter,
Thanks
guys.
very much.
Thank you.
Your last name's C-O-R-T.
Oh, I was telling you this. Okay.
All right, anybody, any other public comment page?
She might as well be on this committee.
I just had a very brief...
Name and address, please.
Okay. Paige Miller, 29900 Bayview Drive. Just a quick announcement I was hoping to share with the group. Wanted to let everybody know that on Saturday, February 4th, which is next Saturday, there's going to be a student horse show at Luton Riding Academy at the Centennial Farm. Where the thrill, informal and casual, the kids don't have to have show clothes to compete. It's just kind of to have fun and learn kind of how the horse show process goes. They will be beginner through advanced riders competing in hunter and western classes, and it's free to attend for anybody who might be interested in coming to see that. And I just wanted to make that announcement.
What time is it?
It starts at noon.
It starts at noon?
Yes.
And Paige, when you say it's just basically an event to watch, then maybe an introduction, maybe help join or something, get involved in horses?
You can. The Equestrian Club will be there, and they are going to be selling refreshments during the event. So you can learn about what we're doing overall there. People can get a feel for, what we're doing there, what the kids are doing, be near the horses, see kids riding horses and showing off, the things that they've been working real hard to do.
Will be able to stay warm because it's going to be the indoor arena.
It's heated. It's a heated indoor arena, yes.
All right, February 4th, 12 o'clock. Please show up.
Okay.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Moving on. Chairperson's report. All right, special announcement. Tim Rooney just got word. I passed out your Wayne Parks, County Parks Division, the facility improvement. This is what was going to Wayne County, if you guys remember, for the grant money. We got word, and I would like to thank Lawrence Hemingway, Assistant Parks Director for Wayne County, and Joe Palomera, Wayne County Commissioner. But Groseal, I'm proud to announce, was awarded $50,000 for the ice rink. As far as the matching dollars, the class of 2010 in memory of Michael Horton. The $8,152 was enough for the matching dollars, basically, but we got $50,000, and we're on our way to start getting our goals. If you would turn to the very last page in the back of the handout of the grant, and it's this one, you guys, right here, Wayne County Facility Improvement. Make sure you got the right handout. You got the wrong handout.
Come on, Bill.
Right here, this one right here.
I've got it over here.
You'll see what Tim is proposing with the money that we have. You can see how he highlighted the 6-inch concrete slab, the strip topsoil grading, the restoration, and goalpost. Is that where we're well on our way? The striping and the 4-foot wooden fence. This would be the goals that we would like to ask the community to help pitch in. We're going to start some fundraisers and stuff like this and some ideas. But this is going to be a year-round inline skating rink for summer and ice rink in the winter. So it's going to be a permanent addition to the Water's Edge facility, and I think it's been well overdue, and I think the kids are really going to enjoy it. So, congrats to Tim, too, for putting it together.
You guys.
Don't be Debbie Downer. All right, moving on. Update on the Equestrian Center operating agreement. We did receive the Luton's response to the initial contract negotiations. They in turn gave it to their lawyer. Their lawyer then gave it back to the Groesville department. We looked it over. We did give it to our lawyer, Thomas Sorty, and from now on, negotiations are going to take place between Thomas Sorty and Luton's attorneys. I think pretty much we're holding fast on some major issues that was expressed through Thomas Sorty, or to Thomas Sorty, about where Tim and representatives of the commission here, where we're going to stand firm on, and I think it should be pretty easy. I think it's going to be they're going to sign it. I don't think there's nothing really that big, little minor legalese things, stuff like that. But we hope to get a response to the board with the initial contract, and we can get that signed as by the end of February. We hope. All right. Curlsville Parkway and East River Road ending. We had a meeting prior to this meeting here about the Wayne County gave us the road end at Parkway, or excuse me, Curlsville Parkway. Tim, Uta, you guys want to make some comments on that, please? Either one, whoever.
You want me to go ahead?
Oh, go ahead, Tim.
Okay.
I'm with a cold, so I don't want to.
Okay, yeah. Prior to this meeting at 6:30, the steering committee held another input session. Basically, the community came up and gave their thoughts, concerns, suggestions, recommendations for the site. And Dale started off the meeting reviewing the previous meeting, what people had to say. And then the next step would be a township board study session with the steering committee, which would be a public session, correct, Peter? So that's where it's at.
And I'd like to add, too, on this, that Tim has done a lot of work in the past with different groups for Water's Edge, for kayaking and such. Bill is going to be giving a report later and giving this commission a report on kayaking and other things, but I want it to be known. I mean, we have Water's Edge. It's got a lot of amenities. It's going to continue to grow, and while I still see that it's a good addition down there, we do have some other stuff that we can't neglect what we already have. All right. Any other comments about the Groesville Parkway and East River Road ending?
I just want to make it real quick. I think Tim summed it up really well. I just wanted to add that this is a process that we are expecting to and will continue to run in full public participation and full public view. And some good suggestions were made also how we can broaden public information and public input by creating a link on our webpage to a page just on this site. And we did have some input about some sessions that we might be able to host where we have a more hands-on approach with people, much like what we did with Centennial Farm. And so I think it's very exciting. We had probably 30, 40 people in the audience, and I think close to 10 people this time came up and made comments. So that's a really strong showing, and I think it's wonderful. It speaks well for the process.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, moving on to the Recreation Director's report. Facility update. Tim, what do you got for us?
Okay, start with the farm. We've had a few fences go down. We recently fixed the south end on the Manchester side where a tree had fallen down. Brian cut that up and put those back up. And I want to apologize to the residents on East River. There's a gate that's falling over and pretty bad, and we're going to get to that right away. Some fence problems. They're pretty old.
How's the water looking? I mean, with the water we've been having, I'm sure we got good drainage over there.
I was just going to touch on that. We still need to do the last little bit by the rec building. That needs to be a culvert put in or some kind of drainage done. I've talked to a couple contractors.
The outdoor
informally.
riding arena between the...
Yeah,
okay.
between the rec building. That needs to be taken care of. Wouldn't be good this spring if it keeps sitting there like that. So that's got to be remedied. I've taken in a few quotes to paint the room. I was hoping Brian would be able to do it after the golf course quieted down, but our exercise programs have been going pretty strong in the morning. We have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then there's other projects that came up. So I want to get some prices on that and see if that might be a better route, but that building hasn't been painted in years, the walls, and the busy season coming up with the community groups using it like Herb Fest and, just different groups, sports banquets, and then we have the graduations, birthday parties, family reunions, so we'd like to get it into shape for that.
Senior events and stuff.
Yeah, the senior club meets there regularly.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
Yes?
Well, we have a high school student council representative here, and I'm just wondering, is there a civic group or a volunteer group among the high school kids that might be interested in taking on that as a project for the community, painting the rec center room?
I'm sure I could find a group to do it. My own student council might be willing to do it. If not, I'm a member of the high school Rotary Club too, and I'm sure if I pose it to somebody, some group, I'll get in on that and get some people to join in.
That would be so, and we could get involved as well, and maybe we'll spring for pizza.
Well, I think that'd be great. And I want to mention that I got contacted from people from St. Sebastian's School in Dearborn Heights. We're going to be working, 4 or 5 kids going to work for a couple hours.
Yeah, February 4th.
Volunteers, so they're stepping up, and they're not even in our community, and they're going to help out Tim cleaning up the rec building.
They're going to work on the tables, the walls, and the chairs, clean those up. They get a little ratty from all the different events.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
That's a little incentive for the Grosse Ile kids not to get showed up by some
Islanders.
Dearborn kids.
Yeah. All right, Tim, sorry. What else you got there, facility?
Okay, Water's Edge, if anybody's driven through the parking lot at Water's Edge, you see the work Carl Morris done with the ice rink, but we haven't had the weather. They had one night last Saturday that they had an event with about 85 to 90 people, I think he said.
Wow.
And Carl, I'll give credit to the donors. I don't have them all here tonight, but he raised over $3,100 to put that together and cover the different repairs and expenses that we had this year. Started to have pool companies come in and take a look at the boiler. They were amazed that it lasted 21 years. I have to give credit to the Water's Edge staff before the rec department was here. They took great care of it, but it's pretty rusted out. But for a boiler to go that many years, 21 years, was pretty amazing. Without installation, the first 2 quotes I have are $6,000 and $10,000. So, and I expect I'll be getting more, and then some of those companies will come out and look at what the installation price would be. So I feel bad that happened, but it's a major expense. The group that probably uses the most are the morning exercise at Water's Edge, because it gets a little chilly in the morning until get into July, and still some days it could be pretty cold. So that's something we'll work on, and I'll report back. Our timing's okay on that right now. I was in there with one guy today, and the way it was designed, the filters, I think we're going to have to take the filters apart, move them out of the way to get the boiler in that back corner, or knock out a cement wall, the cinder bricks. But I think it would probably take Mark like 4 hours to take those filters, the piping apart and move them out of the way. But I'll report back in February on that and have a better plan on that.
Tim,
I just have a question. Has any vendor ever suggested trying to heat it solar? I know it'd cost more up front, but are there any vendors that you've ever talked to that could consider heating?
I have not talked to them, but I know during master planning, we've talked about solar heating, but, that might be a way to get some research on that and follow that.
A solar cover?
Let's put some windmills over there.
Jim, I have a question.
That's good, Mike, thank you.
Ethel has a question.
Oh,
Yes.
Are we having problems with the floor in the building again on the farm?
Yeah, it's the moisture,
Okay, because some of the tiles are broken and some...
Yeah, those are going to be repaired in the next week, too. I know it's been,
Okay.
Well, what did we miss with that? Because we've already repaired this before. What did we miss?
it's a design. It's a wood floor above, it's got that crawl space.
So we need soffits or something to get airflow or something? What?
We have that, the thing that, the piece of equipment that draws the moisture out, and it does settle back down in the summer, but that's not good for the people using it during the winter. It's tricky as the way it was designed.
Okay. I think they did put.
Yeah, they did. There is plastic under the
I didn't
hole.
know that before, that's why I was curious.
No. It's a raised floor that gets a lot of use from taekwondo to exercise classes to major fundraisers of, 100 and some people in there, so. Yeah, ping pong too.
Any other facility updates or any questions about that, Commissioner?
There's many things we're working on. I think the commissioners will touch on some of those projects, but yeah, I could go on for a while. That'd be it for now.
Any questions on that? Anybody? All right, budget update?
Budget, and our finance director, Ann Darsnick, has given us the go-ahead to start preparing budgets. She updated the current budgets, all the insurance figures, things that are going to change from the state government that we need to prepare for. And then probably, I think either the week after the Super Bowl or the following week, I think it's the 15th, we'll have study sessions with the township board. And I didn't know if you wanted to establish a subcommittee to meet with me after I do the draft and before we go into, meet individually with the board.
All right, well, what did we do? Did we have a budget subcommittee last year? Or
I think
years past we did, didn't we?
We've had them in the past, but last year we didn't meet prior to going in.
Does anybody?
It was given to the commission, but there was, before we went to the board, and gone over, but it wasn't a subcommittee.
All right. Does anybody, does that interest anybody on the commission to get involved with the budget a little bit? Okay, I guess it's just you and me then, buddy.
We'll keep you updated.
All right, and then, like you said, the big one we touched on before is that boiler and stuff, so.
Yeah, there's some
right.
concerns.
Program update.
Just a couple items. Once again, the talk about exercise classes, those are going real good since the beginning of the year, obviously, after the holidays. Special event, we'll have, based on the registrations that are coming in now, the Daddy-Daughter Dance, February 3rd. That's a Friday, 6:30 to 8:30 at the middle school cafeteria. $25 a couple, $8 additional child, and that's Daddy-Daughter night.
You got a flyer on that or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, it's on I just
you have
have
one
the
with
channels here.
Oh, okay.
And it'll more than likely be a sellout. And then following that, we have the Mother-Son Bowling on February 24th at Woodhaven Lanes, and that also draws real well. And then there's, Easter's coming up.
Will you re-say those events again, please?
Okay, Daddy-Daughter Dance, Friday, February 3rd, 6:30 to 8:30, middle school cafeteria, $25 per couple, $8 additional child. And Mother-Son Bowling, Friday, February 24th, 6:30 to 8 at Woodhaven Lanes.
Contact the Girls Hill Recreation
Yep.
Department for more information.
675-2364.
Any other program updates?
That's it right now. I mean,
Any
you can
questions
check
about Rob?
cable
Mr.
and
Chairman,
rentals.
I have a question, might be back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Because you gave us a report on the Equestrian Center lease agreement. Is there a report on the restaurant lease negotiations?
We have not even touched on the restaurant yet, have we? We're doing some preliminary work too.
I have a preliminary report that'll go to Walt and Dale, go over that, and then once again, it gets reviewed by the attorneys, presented to Brian, then he takes a look at it and gives it back. But there's things that we talked about last spring and last summer are in there.
We're still in a month with them. I know it's been really, really behind with that, but we got to get going before the season starts with this. We got to go in knowing.
Right, it's ready to go, it's ready to be given to you and Dale.
So I hope to have an update for you.
So it's month to month, but it's being paid month to month.
Definitely.
Good.
Very good.
It's paid month to month. Everything stays the same, but we're going for the 5 year.
5 years. Good, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Any other program questions? All right, Tim, 2012 grant programs.
Yeah, we're entering the grant season. I just, like,
You have a handout, everybody. You have a handout on
it's
that?
Michigan Department of Natural Resources. Those are the grants you seem to hear a lot about that communities actually compete against to try to bring money back into their communities. And the big three you normally hear about are the Land and Water, the Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund, and then a new one that's come in the last couple of years is the Recreation Passport Grant. A little bit smaller projects, but when you look at the trust fund or the Land and Water, you usually do better on the first two, the Land and Water and Natural Resource Trust Fund, if you're doing it with like other communities, say if it's a bike path going through a community or a nature preserve or a waterfront access like we talked about tonight where people can come in and use it from other communities, it strengthens your grant score. So a lot of times, we've had many successful grants in that area, but they've gotten more competitive with funding going down. Like we keep trying for the airport, and we struggle with that. Moving down to that third one, the Recreation Passport, that's generated from state park passes, the seasonal passes. And what I did was
That's what the driver's license is, right, Tim? Whatever.
Yes, on your driver's license.
Your driver's license.
Yeah, now that it's on your, that's this money, and if you look at it, there was several projects that were funded. I think this was a second year for Recreation Passport, and it looks like a ton of projects, but if you look down, you don't see a lot of them going to different, like a ton for Wayne County, a ton for Kalamazoo County, or Mason County, or whatever county. They kind of spread them out. But if you look at the projects, they're more, say like doing some work at Gyra, or doing work at the farm, or say if we wanted to say, oh, we got a match from the county for $50,000, we need another $30,000. Look at the amount of these projects. We've never applied for that one, but look at with the rebuilding bathhouses, there's our boiler. So there's things where you need a match, but there are communities that right now don't have a lot of money, but they need to fix up what they have, like we talked about in the beginning there. We don't have a lot of money for capital projects. We want to take care of what we have. So that's something we need to do in the next month. I think we need to apply for a Recreation Passport grant. We can apply for a Land and Water, more community-oriented.
I agree.
But if you look at the counties, I mean, there's like one per county. They're still pretty competitive.
Yeah.
But, for instance, develop to include park renovation at Sandra Park. And another one talked about renovation existing restroom, creation of a welcome center. And I think that was about 30, if you put the two together, it's $63,000. $63,000.
It's just the idea of having...
Like our pool sitting there. We
making
need
the most
some
of the
work to
money
keep
that
it
we have.
going for a few years. We could take the ice rink and say, we've got a match from Wayne County. We've got a senior class that raised $10,000. It's in our project to do this year. It's supported in the master plan on page 69, whatever. And it's kind of nice that they put this into effect, but these are little projects that we could get done that impact a lot of people. So that's a newer one. The other ones are a little tougher to get.
But just to expand on this, because the audience might not be able to see this, but the match amount for the local cities will be like $10,000. The grant amount, they got $30,000 for a $40,000 project.
Yeah.
Now, it can go the other way around. Like, we got local match of $44,000, and they got a grant of $30,000, but that's $30,000.
See, our ice rink would
They
fit
got a
that
$74,000 project for $44,000.
Right.
So, I mean, you can't go wrong. We got to utilize this.
And I think this was the second round of these, so. But that's something I think we should apply for, whether it's the pool building to fix up those bathrooms or the ice rink at Waterside. Those would be two perfect projects.
Now,
Whereas the farm, not as much as it used to,
can you
had
piggyback with grants or anything like that at all?
what's that?
Like one matching dollars that go for a couple of grants or something like this, or is it, you know what I mean? Anything like that at all? Like if we came up with $10,000, could we go for two different grants and use that as matching money for both grants? You know what I mean? Or take grant
Well,
money?
you might be able to, but you'd have to, let them know. If one's
Okay.
successful, you'd have to pull it and give it to the other.
And just to let
Yeah, I think-
everyone know, we got that $50,000 from Wayne County. When's the last time we received any kind of money from Wayne County Parks?
About 5 or 6 years ago.
So it's been a while, but every year we pay taxes towards Wayne County Parks, right?
Right. And one thing that helps us is that we didn't go back every year asking. We built the basketball court and then was quiet for several years. I mean, even though the court got built like two or 3 years later, which we don't want that to happen with the ice rink. It's been about five or 6 years since that original application.
Excellent, okay.
Oh, and then, if you notice as you go down through, there's boating grants, there's fishery grants, forestry grants, law enforcement, trail management, and wildlife, and that's what Brian was talking about tonight at the earlier meeting, Brian Pollock. And he would have, being with SEMCOG, anytime you apply for a grant through the state of Michigan, you have to send a copy to SEMCOG, who he represents. So he sees every grant that goes in the state of Michigan through the Michigan Department, or he has access to it. He may be working in a different division, so he's well aware of that. And
he's got good resources, what they look for, like he was saying for the road ends, ADA, I mean, is a must, stuff like that.
Right. And then Pam has talked about where I said that was one of the biggest projects ever, the road ending one. What I was talking about is, if you notice the meeting tonight, the meeting back in December, and the day you were out there, Peter was there, Uda was there, it's the people who were together and for it. You didn't hear anybody behind the scenes saying, I don't want it here, or there may be people like that, but they didn't come up that day. Everybody was rallying around waterfront access. And then when you go for these grants, that's what they're going to watch for. Is the community getting along? Are they working together? Who are the partners? So that start of that project there could go a long way. It just depends how the township board decides to proceed with it, but everybody's on the same page. Whereas when we looked at boat launches early on, it was a huge fight, back in the late 80s, early 90s. But that one, that's what I meant. I mean, there's probably been major projects that impact the community more, but it was just, the key was everybody getting along.
Yep.
Yep.
It's like that Playscape, right? Community involvement. Goes
Yeah.
a long ways. All right, any questions about the grant programs? Anyone on the commission? All right. Anything else, Tim, you got to
No,
add?
that's it for me.
That's it? Old business. Do we have any old business? Well, Moreau has the kayak salt launch site, so that'll be completed. All right, so anybody else have any old business they want to address? All right, moving on to new business, update, kayak launch subcommittee. Mr. Moreau.
Thank you very much. Just want to mention on the ad hoc committee that we put together, Leah Shelke, John Conroy, and Greg Mehring were our team to do a little historical study on non-motorized vessels on the island and where to put them and why. I won't go and read this whole article, but basically what we're offering is based on all the information and feedback I can get from the so-called professional kayakers who teach kayaking and know of all the dangers and the things that are very much needed to be considered when you're dealing with this kind of an issue. I took it upon myself to go down to Wyandotte, look at theirs, and talk to their people, and also talk to the kayak sales experts who have teachers and put on programs, which we have done over at Water's Edge. The basic comment that we get is that the current is the current, whether it's in the canal. The canal is a little bit milder than the river. However, the areas that they're considering now with this road end, that the current there is a little bit swifter than it is almost anywhere because of the fact that it's being forced through that water area because of Stony Island. And we do get some current down by Water's Edge. Now, the main subject and the main point of what we wanted to do is to see what would be recommended and what would be the advantages of having a kayak and non-motorized vessel launch at Water's Edge, which is what we've been working on and proposing for a little over 15 years. However, we have never been able to file for a grant or to generate enough money to do that. But in discussing history and currently, there are two sites that would have been ideal, that are ideal. One of them is immediately south of the Free Bridge, and the other one would be right at the end of Bellevue, where we had proposed for at least the last 10 years to put a walkway, like a jetty with a walkway on it, with a little bit of a circular fashion to it. First of all with a platform, and then later on when money would come, we would build a gazebo on there for people to sit and overlook the water and enjoy that. And on the inside of that, we could put, just like Wyandotte has, we could put the kayak launch and non-motorized vessel launch right in that area, which would eliminate the current until you get out into the river. So some of the discoveries, and I won't, like I say, I don't want to go on all night on this, but considering Water's Edge, we have ample parking for cars and trailers. The police currently patrol the area. It's an easy area to patrol because it's on level ground. There is picnic areas, there are seating and shade, and there's a tent out there that can be used by the general public. We have a restaurant, a very good restaurant that's out there where you can eat inside or on the patio, and we also have a pavilion there that can be used for picnics and any other events that you want to have in that area, even weddings. We have boat dockage, short and long term, and again, this is all at Water's Edge. We have close access to the Thoroughfare Canal underneath the Free Bridge, and also if you went downstream, you would be able to access the canal around Swan Island. I'm going to say Sugar. Swan Island. We have restroom facilities. We have a swimming pool. We have a golf course. We have a volleyball court. We have a basketball court. There is so many things that can be done over at Water's Edge by non-motorized vessels, but also motorized vessels. And I would think it'd behoove us to start doing some advertising as to what facilities we have. We have pump out. We also have a launch or a lift for dangerous vessels that are in danger. They can be lifted out and taken care of there. Some of the proposals that we would add to that, and that would be, I think it'd be ideal if we thought about this in an open way, that we could have bicycle rentals right there at Water's Edge. We have bike paths up to Bellevue and all over the island with bikes. And this is just some of the thoughts that have been coming in lately. If we had an actual bike path from, let's say, from Water's Edge all the way to the Centennial Farm, we could access that possibly by renting golf carts. If we could make an exception, and obviously anybody that would rent a cart would be licensed, but just think, you could take a golf cart and you could go all the way downtown and access the stores, Kroger's, all of those things could be accessed either by bike or by golf cart. Again, the golf cart presents other issues, but I know that we also have a van that I don't know how much it is used, but in a lot of the ports that my wife and I go to and our friends, they offer access with their vans to take you up to restaurants or into town, and there's a phone number that you can call, and they're very happy to do that, and it's a big welcoming to the community if you have that ability to transport people at a nominal cost. So basically what we're saying is that all things considered and all the work that has been done over a 15-year period, it makes sense to me and it makes sense to a lot of people who have worked on this. And I'm going to have Tim speak to one of the grant areas or part of the other people that are so much in favor of helping us with this. But I think Water's Edge is the place where if we were going to have a non-motorized vessel launch, it should be there. That's my opinion, and I recommend that to the Recreation Department committee. Tim, do you want to speak to some of the areas you were talking about that would be very beneficial for us to work with and also to file for grants?
Oh, you want to talk about possible sites in Water's Edge or the marina?
No, well, I just briefly went over that. I'm talking about grants or people that would work with us. You mentioned it on your, on that extra sheet that you gave me. I know the Kellogg Corporation is one that helped very much with Wyandotte. They pretty much, Wyandotte put their facility in with very little cost to the town, to the city. And I think that's what we need. We need to work with Open Space, Greenway Committee, Land Conservancy, Downriver Link to Greenways, and where was the other one?
Historical Society?
No, Detroit River Heritage Water Trails. Is that right, Tim?
Right. Well, we've had several groups come in that are part of the refuge and also the water trail. And the biggest one is the Metropolitan Affairs Coalition, and it's called MAC, as a regional civic organization dedicated to addressing issues affecting Detroit region's quality of life and economy. In regard to MAC, has been a strong advocate of increasing recreational opportunities along the Detroit River and its tributaries. In fact, several years ago, in cooperation with local communities and other stakeholders, we led an effort that resulted in the Detroit Heritage River Trail, the first regional water trail planned for southeast Michigan. The Detroit Heritage Water Trail has been very positively received and is currently being implemented by communities along the Detroit River and its tributaries. Groseal Kayak Access Point would further realize the visioning of creating a water trail system that connects paddlers to the rich heritage and diverse natural resources along the wildlife along the waterways. The water trail has been planned to provide linkages to Greenway and birthing trails, cultural assets, restaurants, shopping opportunities, and other opportunities coming and regional attractions. In regard, the Groseal location provides easy access to a variety of paddling environments ranging from urban settings to regional assets like the Detroit International Refuge, Humbug Marsh, Lake Erie Metro Park, and that was from Susan Phillips, Executive Vice President. And there was another one, this was several years ago, from the Sea Grant that was highly involved with all the projects going along. Mary Bowling from the Sea Grant was very key to Wyandotte's project, and they also see Water's Edge. And then there's a big map that they put out, the Detroit Heritage Water Trail, and they list key locations, and the mouth of that thoroughfare canal and the Water's Edge site is one that they, when they're going through it, as they eyed as a key spot, as a linking point.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, and I think that that's very important.
But the whole island is important. I mean, it doesn't matter. If you look at the water trail, it goes around the complete island and picks spots everywhere you go. So,
yeah. Well, one of the things is that people are always discussing and looking for access to the water, and since the Water's Edge is public, that area is public, the golf course is public, the marina is public. However, it's private where the docks are. You're not allowed to go out there. But we have that whole riverfront, and also the area south of Bellevue is all that can be improved into a beautiful, flat, nice park. So I guess my point and my recommendation will be to the township board would be, if we're going to spend any money and we can generate any money, I think that's an area where we should develop both a non-motorized kayak launch or non-motorized vessel launch, and also improve that area for park and picnicking and viewing of the water.
All right, Tim, you mentioned the grants and earlier with your handout. The passport, you would like to go for. What other ones did you say that you wanted to go for?
well, there's the trust fund what we've applied for, and Groseal's been successful on some grants, and then land and water.
All right. With this commission, I mean, we have to look at, what are you thinking of going for? I mean, when you say going for the grant, but what is it going to be for something at Water's Edge? Is it going to be for a playscape? Is it, what do you envision each of these grants, or do you have any idea at all?
Water access is always really top on the rec master plan. But as I told you before, we all have to be on the same page. It's got to come from the top. I mean, the ideas and everything come from the bottom up, but the top down, the township board has to be in favor of it based on what they receive from the community, their commissions. But we'd all have to be together, or it's not going to be successful. You got to pick a site that people are. That's what I was saying about the road ending. It may not be as ideal, I don't know all the things that can be done at that site. There's a lot of challenges. I don't want to get too much into that.
Right.
But people are working together on that one. We've struggled with Water's Edge because we have marina customers. We have
Right.
folks in there during the winter.
I'll have to reach out to the, and maybe Utah could help too, reach out to the board. We're going to have to get some insight, because we don't want to sit there and recommend something, and it's something that the board doesn't agree.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you said, we got to be on the same page. So I think this commission really should think about, like, for the particular grants that Tim was getting with, maybe we can, contact him individually later, but some ideas of what we think we should use our grant money for, whether it be for water access, maintaining current stuff, improvements, like you said, the bathhouse or something like this, the playscape, I don't know, something at the farm or soccer fields or something. But we got to think and build. I don't want to be. Our 5-year plan was basically to maintain everything because of the recession, tax dollars going down, stuff like this. So I think we got to all kind of look at ourselves and ask ourselves questions about what we see. Do you feel the same way? Or?
Right. I think timing-wise, for the recreation passport, the ice rink would probably be better because you're going to be finishing up the season about the time that the grant goes in.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd know coming into the next season whether you're successful or not. Whereas, like the bathhouse, the boiler, and some of those improvements, probably we'd be waiting again through. And we have an important swim season coming up.
Well, we're going to need some thought and input, Commissioner.
And we do have, wherever we decide, or the township board decides to put the water, like a kayak launch, we do have good, solid support and regional partners and with the kayak launch, getting funding, like Bill mentioned, W.K. Kellogg, that was a part of some of our earlier plans, and we've got good contacts, and the people know the resources we have. If we're together, we're going to get those, but we have to be together because it's such a beautiful area.
We need support. We need support what we do.
This island's got so much to offer. It's just how the governing body chooses to proceed with that, and what's most important with the people what they get is from input and things like that. But we've got so many resources here that people would flock here for that type of
Leah,
thing.
you want to say something?
Yes. I was on the subcommittee. And so I'm aware of what Bill's recommendation has been on our behalf. And I guess now I'm confused. Is it going to be helpful for us to recommend to the board that we really believe that Water's Edge is the place that we should be focusing on to go for grants, especially as a non-motorized site? Or are you saying we should open it all up and go to the board and say, okay, where do you want us to focus? I know where I want us to focus. I want Water's Edge.
Based on our research, them not knowing, we could educate them on what we think will
Well,
work.
for our 5-year master plan and our community input.
What will work, where we think we might be able to get the possible funding, we're not guaranteeing it, but after all these years of research, we think we know where we're going to get support, maybe bring some outside money to help fund this project.
Okay, so
and then
then
what the people are saying in the master plan, but when it comes to water, we always kind of have a struggle.
right, and I guess I would like to see this commission stay focused on doing a non-motorized launched site at Water's Edge. I've been on this commission this is my end of my third term, I think, and it's been there for at least 9 years, and I know from research it's been there longer. Now, granted, there are lots of things that need to be done.
I can say it's been there 25 years.
But the pressure has been building, and the pressure has been building. I've been hearing it. There's a lot of new interest in non-motorized launch sites, both for canoe and kayak. So I would like to see this community rec group focus on that. I know we have to maintain what needs to be maintained, but if we're going to go after some new grants, let's look at that.
Well, I think you make a good point. We have done work. People wanted it. The worst thing that could happen is the board kick it back and say, we don't have support, but at least we did what we did, right? Right.
Well, absolutely, and the reason that I wanted to bring it up tonight, was because the Total Recreation Commission decided that we should do the research as we promised we would, and we can make a presentation to the board any particular time that we feel they're ready and that we're ready. The point is, I wanted to make it to the public because as I go to these different meetings, and I hear that they want it here and they want it there, they want it all over the island. Well, the research shows what I just stated. And I think we collectively think that it's the wisest place to have it. the point is, I want the public to know whether we put a non-motorized launch there now or at a time when we have some extra money, we can do it. The point is, I want the public to know that they have a spot they can go down and enjoy the water and enjoy Grosse Ile and access to the water. And it's a very, very large area with ample parking plus all the amenities that I mentioned. That's what I want the public to understand. Because they seem, coming up to the meeting previous to this one, they come up there and they don't seem to know that there's any place they can go to look at the water. Well, there is, and that's what I want them to understand.
Speaking of the public, anybody in the audience want to make a comment about this? Anybody? Uta.
Thank you. A couple of points that I think I want to clarify too, because Bill and Leah raised very valid points. But I personally don't see the two sites being mutually exclusive. And I know we have limited resources, and you don't want to come up short on one in order to do both. At the same time, the waterfront access at the Parkway Road end, right now we have access, and we are in discussions to see safety, access, use. We don't have anything defined at this time. I think we're looking to the community to help direct that. I think a kayak or canoe site is something that people are interested in. But a lot like Water's Edge, I don't see it becoming the primary focus or purpose of that site. There are also going to be multiple uses incorporated into how we design and use that site. I mean, we want people to be able to go there without a kayak or a canoe. And what we heard on our earlier session was from some kayakers who say it's not necessarily an ideal spot for launching a kayak, but it's a really nice spot for when you're on a kayak tour to pull in and rest and hang out and maybe go up to the museum. So there are, I guess what we're seeing is there are different ways to use waterfront access from your canoe or your kayak. When we're talking about such a site at Water's Edge, I think we're at a much closer level toward making that a reality, because as Bill pointed out and as the committee discovered, a lot of the infrastructure there is already in place. There's parking, there are bathrooms, there is police protection and so forth. A lot of the things that we still have a checklist for at Parkway Road end, we've already got in place at Water's Edge. I think one of the things that the board will be looking for if we make a presentation is much more detail, though, too, in terms of how much will it cost? What are some of the potential costs of putting in this type of a launch? And I know you've pointed out in the past we have several kinds of options. There's high-end, mid-end, and low-end basic. So I think those are the kind of details that will also inform and persuade the board one way or the other whether or not to move ahead on that. And obviously as liaison, it's my job to carry that information back and forth, and I will be glad to work with you on that.
Okay.
But I wanted to alleviate some of the concern that Leah expressed, that we're going to be looking for grants for one at the detriment to grants for the other. And I think at Parkway Road end, we're not ready to look for grants on building a boat launch. We're looking for much more basic grants on shore remediation and cleanup and access, getting a staircase down there or a ramp down there. And so I don't want to see them as mutually exclusive.
And we don't even have clarification who's going to even control that property, right?
We do control the,
No, clarification as far as it be DPS or,
well, it's the township has control of the property.
overseeing it? You,
Yes. Oh, I see what you mean. I see
in
what
the
you mean.
future, right?
Yes.
Will it be Tim? Will it be?
Yes, we don't have that yet.
Okay.
Right, I mean, we are really at the infancy of discovery on this site, so.
All right, so what does anyone feel here? Are we? Yes, sir, I already asked for public input. You lost. Name and address, please.
I must have said something.
Peter Kantz, 22119 West River Road. In regards to a non-motorized boat launch, obviously something that's been kicked around for many, many years. I don't think we have to look at one site over another site. I think especially in the case of he doesn't want to stay up for it. One site over another site. I mean, a kayak launch or canoe launch is something that's very, very simple. I mean, it doesn't require a floating dock. It requires almost next to nothing. So there's very likely numerous places on Grove Seal where we can construct such a site, if construction is even a word that we need to use. The township owns more than a mile of frontage along the Thoroughfare Canal. That's all open space land, very nice to kayak down the canal. It's almost like you're up north. Some areas there are no houses around at all. So I don't have a problem at all with wanting to investigate putting a kayak launch at Water's Edge. I think it's a great idea. I think you'll get a certain type of people that will use a kayak launch at Water's Edge, just as you would get a certain type of person that would use a kayak launch, maybe a more primitive kayak launch, at other places on the island. Not everybody's going to go down to the marina and launch in the Trenton Channel, where there is a lot of boat traffic, where there is a strong current, as opposed to launching on the Thoroughfare Canal where there's no boat traffic and very, very little current, and the water's only 2 or 3 feet deep. So it's just a matter of where you're going when you're kayaking as to which site you might want to use, what your level of kayaking expertise is as far as what site you might want to use. But I think because Grove Seal has so much water frontage that it's not at all impossible to talk about multiple launch sites, especially when the site, like I say, can be very, very primitive and cost very, very little money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, I just, the canal isn't as easy of a place to launch a kayak or a non-motorized vessel, due especially to the weed growth. I brought this up at the board meeting when it was discussed there. Behind my house, and I've lived there since '71, and I watched it this year tremendously, even looking down at the site that they were proposing down into the wooded area. There's about 4 feet of water in that 25-foot wide canal. There's only 4 feet that there isn't any weeds, and that's because of the boat traffic keeping it cut. I can tell you, with my experience, and I've been boating since I was 6, if a person in a kayak goes upside down in those weeds, you'll find that there are going to be a lot of guys that aren't, and women that are not going to be able to get back up. Just like we've lost all those little boys up and down the canal when they were playing and jumping off the bridge. They get tangled up in the weeds, and they don't get out. And I can tell you, too, that when I used to keep my bigger boat on the canal, and what drove me away from it was the weeds, that water was 8 to 18 feet deep. The canal surges as it goes down, and underneath each of the bridges, there is a big current. And because the water is being jammed into those bridges underneath, and there's 4 of them. And there's very, very low overhead access, which in a kayak or a small boat, you really don't need to worry about it, as long as you're smart enough to duck your head. But the canal does have a current, and there is quite a bit of boat traffic, and if you have boats coming and going and a kayak in the middle of it. Now, I know that Brian, the gentleman that was here earlier, he lives just down the street from me, and he kayaks up and down the canal. But it is not as safe as people might think. So that's the only caution I would give you, and also, again, to the township board. So, enough said about that.
All right, yeah, I want to put words in Peter's mouth, but I think he was more or less saying is the whole general idea that multiple sites for a kayak launch is a good thing. I think pretty much that was the basis of what he was saying. We're not going to get into a debate of what's safer, what's not. I mean, I think that was a general statement, correct, Peter?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was just a general statement that more the merrier.
I just don't want us to be thinking about 5 different launch sites when we don't have any. And if we don't have the money for one, how are we going to have money for another? And it does take some money. If you go down to Wyandotte and look at what they have, that is the most safest, most intelligent way to launch a kayak or a small craft that I've ever seen. I mean, and you're talking safety. Now, when you're trying to launch and get into a kayak in current, that's why you need fairly static water. And down in Wyandotte even, when you go down to the end, like over here to the elevator, you're back into the current.
No, Bill, your point was well taken, but I think it was just a generalization. I understand what you're saying about safety and stuff, which is good. But with that being said, then, I mean, listening with Peter and what they had to say, is this commission ready to make a motion to have Bill present? Does anybody want to do something like that? Anybody?
Yes.
Yes, what would be your motion, John?
I'd like to see a motion where we have the water access at the place where it will attract the most number of visitors and hopefully residents. So Water's Edge, to me, makes the most sense.
Okay, so I think we pretty much gave the board, I guess what I'm asking for a motion, John, is do we want Bill to present his report to the board?
I'll make a motion that Bill presents to the board when the board's ready to hear his motion.
Second? Okay, so you got that, Liam? What, will you say it again, please, Greg?
I'll make a motion that Bill presents his recommendations to the township board, and the board is ready to hear Bill's presentation.
Is there a second?
Second.
John. All right, any discussion on this motion? The board?
I just want to...
Mike?
Who is Bill, who's your committee?
Leah and Greg.
Okay, great. Okay. So you were part of that. So that's what I was looking for. Somebody on that team should make a recommendation. We have to take your judgment. You did research.
Bill, Leah, John, and Greg.
Okay, good. So.
Well, the only comment I want to make, and that is, like Uda pointed out, we need to get some more detail. I don't want to just go in at the very next board meeting. I need prices. I need logistics.
You got a lot of work to do.
And because what we're going to recommend is obviously the recommendation would be for Water's Edge, which could be put anywhere, but we think Water's Edge is more ideal. But I need to get the detail, and that's what Uda said, and I won't go before the board without it.
Now, let me ask you this, Uta. I mean, what would be wrong with Bill just to present this as throwing it out there and represent again? I mean, to keep the kayak at Water's Edge is something good to be in the public's view anyway, so you couldn't just announce to them that, you get more detail and see how the board is supportive or not about multiple kayak sites?
Well, yeah, I can do that, but I feel that by the time, we just had a board meeting, didn't we, Peter, at Monday?
Yeah.
Okay, by the next board meeting, I can have prices.
Well, I think where Walt is going is a slightly different direction and might also be a good thing, and that is looking at our job as a recreation commission saying we're not going to look at multiple sites that are either on private property or on open space or so forth, but we have a site here under recreation oversight that we would like to propose, and then get feedback and input from board members on that. That might open up a dialogue, and you could do that without, I think, coming in with lots and lots of information. It's simply saying, this is something the commission is interested in pursuing. We feel we have the public support to move this forward. What are the ideas of the board? And to that degree, I can help you too by laying some groundwork before the meeting, talking with other board members and already finding out what kind of things would they be interested in hearing about. And it's not so much as pre-convincing as what are you interested in hearing from us? What kind of information will you be looking for?
That'd be great.
So, and I think that would be a really nice way to start, because we're not ready to move forward on a grant proposal anyway. And I think part of what the first grant process that we were going through when this board first took office was that a lot of the criteria in creating that plan and creating that proposal were based on the facts and opinions gathered by another group of officials, essentially, for a different outlook, a different purpose. And so it was very difficult for the new group, I think, to wrap their head around that plan. And I think that if we do our due diligence with this, we can have a more positive outcome. Because we already know now we don't want to look at a huge plan. We don't want to bring in designers and architects and all this. We want to look at this as a project-by-project basis. So I think we can learn from that past and present something tangible.
All right, any other commissioner comments? Out to the public, any public comment? Peter?
Peter Campus, West River Road. Just to give you just my input, perhaps as a trustee, rather than just a person from the public here, there is, in my mind, there's absolutely no reason why the Recreation Commission can't come forward with a project to put a kayak launch at Water's Edge. I think it's a great idea. But it shouldn't be presented as it's either or. I mean, there are other places where a different type of kayak launch may be just as suitable for a Grosse Ile. So you should look at the Recreation Commission has this proposal to put a kayak launch at Water's Edge, and I think the board would be very receptive to that. But that doesn't eliminate all the other possibilities.
No.
That's that we don't control.
Exactly right. So we shouldn't argue why one's better than the other. You should certainly just present why it's a good idea to put one at Water's Edge.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
That's fine. All right.
Isn't that what we just said?
Yeah. All right, so bring it back to a vote.
Right.
All those in favor of the
Could you
motion?
repeat the motion, please, Mr. Chairman?
This is what I wrote. Where am I? Myron moved that Moreau present the initial quotation mark non-motorized launch site at Webster's Water's Edge subcommittee report, quotation end, to the board when it's ready to hear the details and the subcommittee has needed details. Conroy seconded. We discussed.
Thank you.
Did I get it all?
I guess.
That's it.
Do we like it?
Yeah.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes.
Good.
All right.
Can I add,
No, we're moving on.
we moving on? No, you're right.
What do you got? I'm just kidding.
Once the vote is, I'm just thinking the timing too, as to give this kind of information before we go into the budget process, because that's also something that we can then start looking at as we go through the budget.
Yeah, and I intend to ask Tim what the timing would be on filing for a grant. And so there's a lot of groundwork I have to do, or we have to do, to find out what is available, and and the costs and things like that. If it's major or not.
And it's possible to make a proposal based on, we're not going to get it in this year. This is maybe this is something we're looking at for 2013. but we're starting the groundwork now.
And I'd still like to ask all subcommittee chairs, though, your little wish list for grants. Apple, the senior, the van or something, Greg with soccer fields or something ideas. Farm, golf, anything, trees, think of anything. If you guys got a wish list that you think that might be grant capable of getting or something, give it to Tim. He'll be able to figure it out and see what we can do. Yes, sir.
Well, and remember, we've got an Eagle Scout looking for a project. We've got probably more than one Eagle Scout looking for a project.
Yeah, there's several right now.
So, while we're not ready quite to move ahead at the waterfront road end at Parkway, I certainly want to keep Ethan interested, but that we have other potential community service projects that they could be doing through the recreation department, too.
Playscape, clean up that or something. There's all kinds of things we can think of, you guys. Yes.
The grants that I spoke about tonight, and you had the handouts, April 2nd is the deadline. So you pretty much want to have all your plans and packets ready to go with the first board meeting in March to the township board.
All right, so we got the month of February, people, to get some ideas in town. All right, anything else? Moving on, subcommittee updates. Open Space and Greenways Committee, Shelky, any updates?
The Open Space Commission is continuing to work on its community involvement in monitoring the open spaces that exist. They are looking at a second, if we ever get frozen ground, for a second attempt to have private people come in and take wood out that's already down.
Fallen tree problem.
Fallen tree. Well, we're walking a fine line there, because we want to keep it natural per the rules of the open space. But at the same time, we don't want it to look as if when you're driving by, Groseal doesn't care about its parks and open space. So they're still looking at that. And thirdly, we're creating a draft for a policy for people who are requesting paths through the parks or through the open space. We've had a number of those requests come to the open space, and so we're creating a policy to provide the guidance, and we'll take that to the board when it satisfies us.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Leah?
Leah, I have a question. Is the township looking to add open space sites?
Yes, there are negotiations. That's all, privately done, but there is, I understand, a site that's being negotiated with this township manager at this point.
Is the township manager the person, so the township manager is the person that negotiates the purchase of land for...
Probably the representative of the board.
Under direction from the board.
Right.
Good.
And at this point, there is one, I understand, in process, but I don't know where or what or anything.
Thank you.
It's right in the back of your house, Mike. Anything else for Leah? All right, golf committee update, Moreau. Now remember, you got a limit.
Okay, yeah, I will. I'm going to make it quick. The golf course is ready to go. All we have to do in the springtime is pick up sticks and get them in a pile, and we'll be ready to play. The great job that the committee has done and the volunteers, along with Mark and his team and Tim with his tutelage and monitoring every aspect of the thing. I think we've done really well despite the weather and everything. We were able to do the majority of the projects that we had underway. We were, by leveling the tees, we were only able to level number 7 because of the weather and everything. But we did get 7 done, and we were able to fix pond on number 9. What we have left to do are the tee boxes on 2 and 9, and also drain and work with the pond on number 3. But we haven't been able to do any of that because of the soggy ground. And 3 is very important because it drains the fairway on 3, 4, 5, and 8. All drain into that pond, and the pond is not dispersing it, it's keeping it, so that's why the area there is so bad and logged with water. Tim has sent out, if everybody has, what I just did, here it is. We have the new prices this year for golf, which we reduced to be as competitive as we can. And also, I believe the golf course is in excellent shape. We worked on it diligently. I won't even go into the details on that. But take a look at you homeowners that got this price thing. Take a look at it. It's very, very attractive, and you'll have a lot of fun playing the course. And we also are open. Most of the leagues that play at the course are open for members, so if anybody is desirous of playing in a league, and these are all just fun leagues, there's no big deal, and I don't think we have any pros playing in these leagues. So if you want to join a league, you contact either me or Tim at the rec office, and we'll certainly get you into an ideal time to play golf with the leagues. And I will be working with Ford
Yacht Club?
Yeah, Ford Yacht Club, Albemarle Boat Club, and Grosse Ile to see if they will put some teams together and maybe play each other a couple times during the year on Saturdays. So I'll be going to their board meetings and make that presentation.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Any questions for Moreau? All right, moving on, Marina Swales.
Mr. Chairman, this evening I was going to just give everybody a visual tour of the marina.
Sounds good.
So, this is the boat launch facing north at the Free Bridge. That's the expensive launch that takes the boats in and puts them out. And as someone said earlier, if there's an emergency, you can pull a boat out. That's run by Dockmaster Bob Lane. This is facing north, once again right towards the Parkway. In this area, just behind the haul-out machine, is an area that Bill was probably referring to as an ideal place for launching a kayak. Ironically, the Dockmaster Bob Lang has also suggested that this would be an ideal area for a kayak launch. This land would be very easy to clean up. Sand. This part of the water right here, there is what you call static water, I think, in your report. It's pretty calm. A lot of people come to the island, park their car on West River Road, and fish underneath the bridge. But it just seems like a real simple, in my mind, it's just a simple place that you, with a little bit of volunteer work and maybe a bobcat, you could clean this up, drop some sand, walk out, drop your kayak. 100 feet up the river is that canal you were talking about. Yep. So this is kind of a safe area. This is looking across the north entrance to the golf course. That would be open where I guess, that's where people come in the summer, the boaters come in, kayakers could come in to drop off their kayak right there. I see them putting their car back up in the parking area up at the golf course and the restaurant, to use the restaurant and maybe pay a fee to use the kayak launch, like they pay for their boat dockage.
That's a possibility.
Just possibility. Even in December, we had people playing golf. Wow. I don't think you got their $9 for that one. This would be from the north end of the marina facing south. This was, as you see, in December, all the boats were put away. Tim, that's that water pump. I don't know if there was a problem with that.
Yes, that's got to be repaired.
Yeah, that's got to be repaired because that's an important source of water.
Yeah, no, that's
when they clean off
that's
the
right
boats.
away in the spring.
This just gives you an idea what the shoreline is. Not a bad thing. It's just a lot of crushed concrete that has been there for many, many years. This is from the north facing south, looking at all the docks that we have. This is from the south facing north. This is at the south end of the marina. That's what the shoreline looks like. Once again, from the south facing north.
I seen a porta potty in the parking lot. Don't they get rid of those?
Yeah, we're not paying for that, I call them.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the last one I take out at end of November. I leave one in till the end of November.
There's a lot of work that goes on, boaters putting their boats away in November, so I know the marina occupants appreciate that.
Well, these pictures can almost translate now to January because it probably looks the same like right
It's
now.
about the same. This is the drain that I think comes from the
Country
Garcia
Club.
Country
Country Club, I
Club. It just
believe, yeah.
drains, and, not a bad thing. Probably has a little bit of fertilizer in that drain from the golf course, because I know south of there, the weeds grow really good because they're fertilized from the country club. This is the far southernmost point of the marina, south of where the boats are, facing south. This could also be simple. I mean, a couple guys, a couple days,
Well-
you can make it, just walk your kayak or your canoe right to the water. So it's another area of the
Thank
marina
you.
that could be considered.
Can you go back, Mike, can you go back to that one?
You know he's right here at this one. You want to stay here? Did you see the next
That one?
No, okay, go ahead.
See the next one. You want that one?
Okay, we had tour with trustee Cantz, Walt, and some people in the board wanted us to do further study on that. We had people that came in that put the Wyandotte launch in, people that were
Expert.
part of the river groups,
Yeah.
and when they were all said and done, that is the spot they recommended, based on how the marina sits today.
Oh, okay.
And the first area you started with is county property, and then you saw the natural area
Yeah.
there. We'd have trouble filling
I
that.
heard
in.
that's county property.
Yeah, this is the one that the people that have been working with the river groups, that's the spot they said would be the best, because it's kind of sheltered there, and
And I think it's kind of static water. This we call the boneyard part of the marina, kind of the south end, where some boats spend a year round if their owners don't tend to pay the fee to get them back in the water. Once again, south end facing south. Of course, right across the river is the coal pile, so you always get the coal dust coming across, which is just something we learned to live with, and we don't believe it's a health hazard.
I wonder if we're going to get a trapped tanker this year.
Hope not. You've heard me talk about the boardwalk that the Marina members built in 2010 as a volunteer project. It's over 200 feet of boardwalk. It was a real nice project.
Whose dog?
Somebody's dog. In 2011, another small volunteer project was the brick pavers outside of Pier 1. Just another volunteer project. And this is the area where the transient boats can pull up every day, which they do, and they can dock for $5 for the day or $20 overnight. Tim, that's the sign that was made and worked.
Right.
I'm hoping we could get larger signs, because these signs are so small they're easily ignored by the transient boaters. So I think a little bigger sign.
We need
would
to work on that,
say,
correct.
we really do want you to come and pony up your $5 or your $20 at the pro shop.
Mike, is the opposite side of that post?
Oh, yeah, it's there
On
for
both
the,
sides?
yeah, it's on both sides, but it's, it's like this, so it's not real big. And this is the part of the marina, the boardwalk, where the boats actually pull up, and maybe hard to see, but there's electricity and water, so I mean, it's good service if somebody wants to tie up their boat. There's the flagpole.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Does, I don't know what kind of, will the, oh gosh, I'm just not making this work. Will the boardwalk need to be treated this year, or is it good?
That's a good question. It looks like it's in very good shape, but it's only in its second year.
Okay. I mean, I'm just asking, does it need to?
we wanted to do it the first year, but Bob Lang recommended not doing it, so we held off.
Okay, Bob he knows something about where the wood came from.
Yeah, we had a whole discussion about
We had a pretty good discussion on that
Oh,
one.
boy, I wasn't there.
They helped build it.
there's-
They got the resources and helped build it, so we,
Is that something floating in the water?
Yeah, that's a big log. I hope it's not big. It's
no,
a block.
gone,
It's
cut up.
gone.
Yeah,
I know
Brian
it's
finished
December.
cutting it up. It's gone as of yesterday.
You know,
We
a
pulled
lot
up
of things
before that.
float down the river.
That looks like a tree, not a log.
Oh, we got
It's
some big
a
ones
tree.
in
Yeah,
there.
you have some big ones in there. There it is, a little closer up. View from Pier 1 back to the land, facing north. Down
That's
to the
that same
south.
spot again.
Yeah, there's that same spot, and
See
where the
that
water
at the
comes
very
from.
end, up
Yeah,
against-
and the water's pretty
Now, at
pretty
this
slow.
picture right here, you can see how it goes towards like,
Kind of little bay or little inlet.
right,
to the
that's
south.
still our property. That's what Bill was referring to.
So you'll notice the majestic view of Humbug Marsh, and
You go all the way from in front of the golf course is all Water's Edge property.
That's what would make a beautiful park.
Yeah.
That's what years ago we were talking about putting transient docks way down there, remember?
That's that plan, yeah.
I know people go there to watch the submarine races sometimes. Anyhow, that was just a quick tour of Marina. Say nothing. No comment.
You're aging yourself there, Mike.
I was going to say, some of us are too young to,
Thank you.
So you guys did your inspection then? Did you do the
You know,
does it look pretty good?
we've had a few, we haven't gotten our inspection done, I apologize. We tried
yeah,
to
we-
schedule
yeah,
it.
I
Now
apologize.
we're going to do it.
We're going
That's
to,
all right, still, we don't do it before spring, so we'll be good
Yes.
then, okay.
then we'll do the spring one.
Any questions for Mike? Centennial Farm, Woodward Ryan, please. No report. Airport recreation area, Myron.
Just real quick, the fields are dormant now because they're not being used. In the spring, they'll probably pick up with the usage of Gyra, and Giza. And just on a side note, there's a lacrosse summer league that's going on at Game On every Sunday from 6 until 9. From 6 until 7:30 is for the younger kids, middle school, and then from 7:30 to 9 is the older kids. So anybody interested, come down, get experience.
Where is it?
Game On, which is next to Gander Mountain on Reek Road?
Oh,
Party Road, thank you.
over by
Dan.
the mall, South.
Yes, yep.
Can you use the Groseal High School football field for lacrosse? Or
No comment.
you cannot use it?
Nope.
Nope,
For nothing? Not even games or nothing?
Nope.
nope.
So where's our home field at?
It's still kind of up in the air, but supposedly we're going to be using the soccer fields, but my understanding is the soccer fields are too small, the goals have to be moved, the fence has to be reworked, so right now, I don't know.
Do
I'm
they
not-
wear Groseal uniforms?
We're a varsity sport.
Okay, I don't get it. Okay, all right. Doesn't make no sense to me. Any questions for Greg? Oh, one more thing. Any damage to soccer fields? Anybody?
Oh, no, I'm not aware of any damage or any vandalism.
Have you heard anything about
No.
that? We've been good? Okay. Well, that really stinks at the beginning. Okay. Senior citizens, Ms. Yops.
Alrighty, first I have probably a commercial. There's a program on DARE going to be held Wednesday, February the 1st at 11:55 a.m. at St. Thomas Lutheran Church, Groseal, at Church Road and Meridian. It's being sponsored by the Men's Luncheon Group, and it's a special program with lunch, and all the men and women are also invited. Groseal Officer Ken Pellin is going to be the speaker, and he's going to talk about DARE. And I thought that that's something that maybe other people might be interested in. The Senior Club, the meetings are still on the second and fourth Tuesday at 11:15 a.m. with coffee and dessert at the farm. We're continuing with contributions of food to the Sacred Heart Food Bank. In December, we presented a check along with the food, and Mrs. Moreau and the committee and her helpers do a super job, and they deserve a great big thank you from everyone. Our show and tell programs are still going on. For the first meeting, they continue interesting features with hobbies and writings and human interest. And then for all island seniors, the Recreation Department has sponsored dinners. Wednesday, February the 8th, the spaghetti dinner is $10, 12:30 p.m. at the farm. Wednesday, March the 7th, St. Patrick's Day dinner, $12, 12:30 p.m. at the farm. They have music and prizes and dancing and fellowship. And that's advance reservations at Water's Edge, and the phone number is 675-2364 if you have questions. We also have concerns about the reason for the lack of participation in events this past year. And I've been inquiring and trying to get answers, and there's lots of talk, but you don't get a lot of reply. But one of the things, there's a request to please consider different chairs than the metal folding chairs. They don't like them, they're not comfortable, and essentially they're not safe. And many of our island seniors are attending events at the Trenton Center and Flat Rock because they feel they have better accommodations. And then Mr. Rooney's always open to suggestions and what your thoughts are for activities that can be planned within the Recreation Department budget, keeping costs of the participants reasonable. The department is very short-staffed. They're using more and more volunteers for all department programs, and everyone on the commission is working hard to keep all needs at Island Wishes fulfilled. So come out and enjoy what's available, support your Recreation Commission volunteers and the department, and thank you.
Thank you, Ethel. Any questions for Yops? Utah?
I just wanted to, Ethel brought something up about Ken Pelland and DARE, and it just reminded me last night, Ken Pelland graduated another fifth grade class, DARE class, at the high school. And it's a really wonderful program and well appreciated, and I'm glad to see that he's going to be giving a presentation.
Very good. All right, schools. Conroy and Agron.
Congrats to the Grosse Ile High School girls. They won the Division III state championship
In what sport?
last weekend.
Cheerleading.
Cheerleading.
Oh, cheerleading. Good.
And there was a fundraiser Tuesday for the marching band, chili and cupcakes. It looked like it was very well attended. I don't know if you heard of anything else. I'll give it to you in a second.
Okay.
And that's all I got except for Agron right here.
Well, first off, in regards to that painting project, I'll take that back immediately, and I'm sure I'll be able to find several volunteers to work on that really soon. Other than that, it's more or less been business as usual at the school. This is the stressful final exam week. Our new semester starts on Tuesday, February 1st. All of our winter sports are in full swing, and that's all I have to say.
I have a question for you. Can you get some feedback on some programs that they would like to do? See how this inline skating rink thing, if they're supportive of it?
That's huge. I have all the hockey team loves that, and I knew a lot of people from that class of 2010, and that fundraiser was great. I'm actually really proud to hear that they raised several $1,000s for that. But yeah, the majority of stuff that I talked to with a lot of my friends and classmates, they all love it.
Okay.
They just want, if it's there, they'll go, they'll get involved, is basically what
The biggest thing I hear from kids is there's nothing to do on the island, there's nothing to do, so we got to find something to do. Apple needs trash taken out, you guys, on Monday nights. All right. Anything else you go right there? Extended public comment. Any public comments?
Wait.
Playscape.
Oh, sorry. Playscape. Sorry.
What I want to do is set up a date with Tim when the ground's not been so wet to clear brush at the north end of the playscape. As we have an island resident who has an industrial-sized chipper who is willing to bring it, but it can't be moved when the ground's so soggy because it'll put major ruts in his yard. Once we get either good solid frozen, then we'll set up a date.
Any questions for Ann? Anybody? All right. Extended public comment? No. Everyone's asleep. Individual commissioner comments. Let's start with Uta. What do you got, Uta? Any additional comments?
No.
Mike?
No.
Greg? No. Helena?
No.
Ann?
Nope.
Bill? Leo?
Nothing.
Ethel?
No.
Agron?
Nope.
John?
Yes,
You had a good streak going.
farewell and good wishes to the Nashes. I don't know if you had any update on what they're...
Maggie had called, said they're doing well. It was like the first few days there.
Okay.
But
It was a very well-attended going-away party, I thought.
Okay.
they listened to serious sports all the way down. They had satellite.
Question, how's 7th, 8th grade basketball?
One more practice night tomorrow night, and then the league starts next Friday night. Bill's done a good job, Fleming, putting that together.
How many teams?
4. We usually have 4.
4 teams?
Yeah.
Okay. And,
I didn't know. For what? What was that?
One plug for the animal shelter. I was over there today, and they have every day 10 to 11, they encourage people to sit and just hang out with cats and dogs.
All right.
It was very nice. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you. Tim?
Should have mentioned it earlier. Prior to the holidays, Dale had contacted me. The Grosse Ile Yacht Club had approached him and myself to have a meeting about the Recreation Department getting more involved in the sailing program. They'd like to get more youth involved, maybe draw people from the river communities.
Did everybody catch that?
Or not just river communities, but yeah, the Grosse Ile Yacht Club would like to go into partnership with the program. Based on my research, there's a lot of Park and Rec that deal with yacht clubs, boat clubs with the sailing
So
program.
it's to take over to help with the
No,
sale.
it would be a partnership.
Partnership,
And,
right.
they have the equipment, the materials, where we could be strong in the registration area with records, and then, evolve from there. I met with board members for the last couple meetings, and then we met tonight, and then the instructors and people that are really the nuts and bolts of the program, the hands-on people, Roy Baker and his crew, we're going to possibly meet next week, if he can get that meeting arranged. And then I'll check out with, insurance and things like that and make sure that we can become involved. But I'll keep an update before we really get rolling on it and keep you up to date unless, just see where we're at with it, not go too fast on it. I know they have a schedule, but I don't want to jump into it if we're not totally prepared to help them and also do a good job for the township.
And then, basically, like with the partnership, that means that splitting funds or something like this, or fees or something?
That'd be some of that involved. It's not all detailed. They definitely want to cover our costs and, expand their program. And
We can help them
sometimes
out.
it's hard to draw if you're so-called just a club or if you're just a recreation department. Working together, you might get a bigger audience, and we are a island community, and the department has always wanted to strengthen their, water recreation sports. And you remember the rowing team, that started with us, but now that's with the school, and there's a very strong nonprofit that supports that program with the school. So maybe that's something can evolve there and, bring people to the community.
Just to clarify, Tim did not approach them.
Right.
Do they, because that's their thing, we never try to encroach on.
Yeah, somebody that's near and dear to me that was an instructor for us for years in the rec program that's involved at Yacht Club wondered what was up, because it was a board member and they were more in the programming area. They may have been a board member previously. I'm not that close to that organization. And I said one thing that's always been from the beginning, Dick and Otis, you respect Roseal traditions. When we came on, there was JIRA. How can you complement them? How can you use them as a clearinghouse for information? Any group that we try to work closely with, we don't want to overstep our bounds. We want to complement. And that's something I made clear to them tonight. We definitely want to offer water, recreation, sports, bring people to the community and showcase the special resources, but that was very important to me, and I told her we would never do that. And I understand why we were approached, because it'll be good for both groups, but I have to do some more research and work with their people.
Very good. Any questions for Tim?
Walter, may I have a question?
Yes, sir.
With the skate rink, do you have a name and address or whatever person, in case individuals would like to give a donation towards that?
Well, Tim will accept donations, and if you want to do it on behalf of the class of 2010, it's the Michael Horton Fund that Ann has in the Township Treasury Department. She has all the information on it. I forget what the...
Yeah, I just wondered because
I can get that for you.
there could be individuals that would
Contact
like
Tim,
to
you
do that.
can donate to Tim right to the Recreation Department, or you can go right through Ann with the class of 2010.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for asking that. Motion to adjourn. So moved. Bell, second? Correct. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Please volunteer in the community. Thank you.